Hello, everybody, and welcome to Enter the Matrix episode 4, this time with Père Kstor, which I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing wrong, but I'm going to run with it anyway, of Team France, the new French captain. This is Enter the Matrix. This is our show where we talk to a variety of WTC captains from around the world. I'm technically a part of the show now, I think. I'm still doing more episodes than that today, who's made like 1.5 of them. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. That took a while to start recording. I'm going to run that intro again. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Enter the Matrix with Père Kstor of Team France, the new French captain. This is our show where we talk about all things WTC, whether that's this year, next year, and however the local scene runs. This is Typhus, who is the captain of Team Poland, and Père, who's the captain of Team France, and they are going to be running you through all things Team France today for around about an hour. Thank you guys all for being with us. This is part of our Patreon bonus content. If you like what you're hearing, drop a comment. Make sure you know. We'll make sure everything gets passed on to Typhus and Bear so that they know all the cool things about them. And if you're interested in hearing more about Team France, we'll leave a link in the description for anything of their social media so that you can get in touch with them yourself.
Cool.
So maybe you want to introduce yourself, Per?
Yeah. So I'm Père Kstor. I'm sure you're perfectly French fluent, but it means Father Beaver. And I'm the new French captain. And I'll say a
My
few words about
condolences.
how you could become French captain later because it might interest you. But for this year and for the next WTC 2023, I'll be head of French selection. I've started the game 4 years ago, I believe, a bit less than that. I've founded with my mates a French team that is called the Semi Cristillon, that means half crispy. We were just,
Semi-croissants.
yeah,
No, it's semi-croissants.
semi croissant. It was just we were just feeling that fully crispy was too pretentious, so only half crispy. And this is the team that won the French tournament that leads to French captaincy. And now I'm the head of the French selection, and I will have to select a whole team through the several French team existing uh, for the WTC 2023, and that's
Okay,
me.
so I have some knowledge about the background of French selection and how it has been happening throughout previous years. I know it was. I remember people thinking like it was more of a French-speaking France, and actually it not presenting, I think, the full competitive team that you guys can field, because it was usually your system was one team winning, and usually they went to the event with maybe singular players swapped. So maybe you'll give us like a brief introduction how it looked and what changed, because from what I know, the last year was a major change to the whole system.
Yeah, so actually, the system did not really change. The captain changed and made the system change. So we've had a French circuit, a French competitive scene that led to French captaincy. It's been there for decades, and the previous French captain won the competition every year. So that one of the French team was winning, have been winning it for 12 years. So was they had completely crushed the French scene for those years, and they felt only fair to bring those players that helped them win to the WTC. So after I was not part of this era because I'm quite a new player, quite a young player. So I cannot tell you a lot about it. But now and since the last year with LOL Laurent, that you might remember, the another team that is called the Paris United won the French scene, and they decided to break with the old ways and select through the entire French scene the best 8 players to come to the WTC. So that's what we've done last year, and we had quite a success on that one. On the first on the the spirit and the energy that was irradiating from that kind of of methods. And the the community was very supportive, and also the top players in France were quite happy about this method. Even the previous captaincy and the team that was winning for those 12 years, I believe they are now completely they do now completely agree with this kind of method. And I promised to respect that legacy for the next year. So I will do it the same way. So we will not do exactly the same year, because we will build on what we've achieved last year.
Hmm.
But still, we will respect this spirit, and I will gather players from all over France, and and through several teams. So we're playing Poland in a few days, and for example, in this team, I've gathered players that are coming from 5 different teams.
Okay, so you could say like that your community is more united nowadays,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I
definitely.
think that's something that also Julien was working with his streams as well.
Yeah, yeah. Julian has been a big part of this achievement, because he's promoting the French community and the 40K through France with quite a success. He has contributed to also create a cafe with two of my mates from the Semi Crescent that is in Paris, and is now the center of our Parisian community, not the French community, French community, but only Parisian community. And eh, yeah, I think you're right. The community is more united. We felt it with the support we've had from the base of the community during the WTC, and also within I would call the top ranking players. So let's say the 30 or 40 best French players, and that are now having pleasure to meet and to play against each other. There's less rivalry, sorry, and more friendship towards performance. So I really like that, and this is really thanks to Lauren Lol that started this method, and had success with it in as I said, in the results also, because we finished sixth, and I believe France did not have such a performance for 4 or 5 years. So
Yeah,
since
I
yeah,
think 2017. I think
yeah,
Salamanca was your
so
best year.
I was not playing 40Ks there, so I can't remember. But so that was quite a good year for us. Could have been better, but it was good. And so that's a complete success in every way. So we are proceeding on this way, on this method.
Okay, so let me get a little bit deeper into the whole topic of that big event. From what I know, you just have what, like preliminary qualifications for that event, right? It's not like you only have four teams that are taking
No,
part there.
it is much bigger than that. So this year we have more than 1,000 players. So I'll let you do the math, but it's a lot of teams in France that are organized through leagues, like in football or rugby. So we have three level of leagues. We have one League One. We call that League One. So the entire system is called League Wars. We have one League One with six best teams, six best French teams. We have, I believe, I think it's four. Yeah, it is four League Two, second stage of the league. So those four League Two are competing in the playoff at the end of the day, at the end of the year, with the fifth of the League One, the fifth team of the League One, and the two best are going to the League One. And then we have lots of League Three that are more regional, local league, because and those leagues are 6-player teams. The League Two, and League One is 8-player teams. So it's more than 1,000 players playing towards those leagues, and at the end you get the League One, the four best team go to a playoff that is played at the beginning of the next year, and this
Okay.
playoff in the early stage of the year of the season decide who is going to be the French selectioner, the French captain.
Okay, that's insane. Like,
It's a very, very different system to almost any other I've heard of.
yeah,
Yeah,
and like when you even think about it, like 1,000 players
yes,
that
sir.
actively take part in team competitions.
Yep, and only in team competition. Yep, yep.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I
So
don't think I have 1,000 people who play 40k competitively in my country, let alone
no,
Team
no, no,
40k.
no. I probably have like 150
Yeah,
tops.
I must say the big achievement from the our French federation that is called the FEC, and that is led by Matthew Manuel, that you might have encountered in the WTC last year. And this is, yeah, we're quite proud of this system, because at the top it is pretty fair, and the top is tracked is putting traction for the entire structure from the base to the top. So you have lots of new players and lots of new energy that are coming from the bottom. So for example, next week we are playing Poland. That is uh, actually the best European team um, this year, and I took 2 players from League Two that are really,
Okay.
really, really good.
I would like to clarify one thing. It's worth mentioning that we are the best team in Northern Hemisphere. So we are better than USA. We need
Sorry.
to
Yeah,
clarify that one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. But we,
Just to
we
rub that one in.
yeah, yeah. Nice to clarify that. So the best in Europe and Northern Hemisphere. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry for that, Typhus.
Okay.
So,
I
but
hope you won't make that.
still, I have no doubt bringing 2 players from League Two to fight your team, and I dare you to recognize League Two players.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's great. Like we've been also trying to find new faces because there's always some prospects that do not get that same exposure that those players who are already veterans. And now going even further into that topic, it sounds insane that you have this big event because when you think about it, in July, August, you finish WTC, and then you like essentially start prepping with your team for this one event.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Most of the time, we're waiting. First, we're waiting for the data slate that is coming in between those 2 events. So the card are being shuffled again a bit. But yeah, we start again really really quick, and it was something we asked as the French top players to have this event very early in the season. It was actually Matthew was actually so Aretas was actually very specific about this, and he was right. We want to have this event really early in the season to make sure the selectioner, the head of French selection, has the time to test several players through the year, and then decide who are the best 8 players. Otherwise, if it's too late in the season, you might have some reflex to just choose what you know, who you know, uh, and that's not
safe
that.
picks,
Yeah, safe picks.
maybe
That's it.
maybe not the best ones.
That's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's actually pretty interesting. So now that you have like you are a captain,
Mhm.
so even looking back at the previous year, how did you guys actually choose the players? Did you have any specific system? Because I know you've played a shit ton of games on TTS with us as well. I
Yep.
don't. I think we've played 3 overall. I think so.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, yeah,
previously.
we played 3 times before the WTC, and in between COVID time and the next
Yeah, yeah.
WTC. Um, Actually, we know each other pretty well. It's even if we have 1,000 players, it's still a small community in concerning the top players in France. Yeah, you know everyone. So we meet for the league. We have two match during the season. So single and return. That's it. So we have one in January and one in March, I think, or April.
Hmm.
So that's two main events with the six team of eight. Then we bring teams. I will bring team with my co-selectioners. I will bring the different teams to different international events. So we are already we have already subscribed to the event in with you in April. I can't remember the name.
Alpine Cup.
Alpine Cup.
That's it. So we'll be there. We have several team events in France that are quite famous in our French scene only, that are being used to test new players because it's only, let's say, four or six team events.
Are those like WTC format with
Yeah,
WTC
always
tables?
we only
Okay.
plays WTC format, even in singles.
Okay.
Yeah, so only WTC formats, only
Only
WTC
twenty
layers,
zero.
only 20-0. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I should move to France.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's. I mean, mate, they do not speak English. This their English is even worse than yours. Like,
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
I can
fine.
work with that.
Yeah, yeah. We're
uh,
improving. We're improving. We're
yeah,
improving.
yeah. Actually, to be fair, like my experience with French players, like first ETCs, I sometimes was like, "What are you trying to say? What are those words
Yeah,
coming out of your
yeah.
mouth?"
So
Like if, like as if there was a team of skarks that cannot speak English and go like, "This dead."
this
Like
bang bang boom boom
yeah,
Pinky
freeze.
so
top.
yeah, there's a huge. I can see like that's a very positive change. I think Matthew even said that I think for this year's singles as well, he like instructed people to actually use English and bring English rules, not the French ones, because you guys have French codexes, etc. Right?
Yeah, but
Uh,
actually, in the top player scene, we don't play with the French codex because we know it's different tradition,
yeah,
different
yeah,
wording. It's bullshit. But yeah, that's one of the thing we are looking very closely uh, for the selection. Say how are you able to communicate with your opponent? And it's not only about this is dead, this is boom boom. No, because you may have an argument, you may have problem to
yeah.
understand, and you have to deal with it. And this is important because we are playing intention a game of intention. So if you're not able to understand the intention or to give your intention, you're not able to play the game.
No.
So not bringing people that are not able to speak clearly in English.
Okay. And now, like when I think about last year, I know it was kind of hectic for you guys. I think you chose the team choosing committee was like chosen in March, something like that.
Yeah,
I think so. So you didn't have that much time.
yeah.
Who do you have in your team now? It's you, Matthew, and someone else, I assume.
So so I've won. I've been captain for only one week. So I'm still trying to figure who is going to be part of the French selection team.
Okay.
But what I can say is it's going to be very LOL like. So well, I'm going to inspire from what has been done last year. Matthew is definitely going to be part of the selection of the committee, if he wants to, and then so this committee is going to be settled in a week, uh,
Okay.
in about a week, and then we're gonna decide together how we're gonna test players through the year, what we are gonna look for, and what are the objective. the goals, because maybe this year is going to be a bit special, because we might have a switch to
Yeah,
10th
10th
versions,
edition.
the 10th
Yeah.
editions. And if we have that kind of switch on the very late season, for example, I might be looking for players that are maybe less inventive but more committed, more 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 able to bring a lot of work in a very short period. And so that's what we're going to have to decide with the French committee, selection committee, and then we're going to look for those players through the years, through the year.
Okay, and as you touched upon this, uh, you said about working hard, finding ideas, and not really being that much flexible. I know what you mean, like not maybe flexible, that's a bad word, but like you
Adaptable.
guys want to choose armies and have like good understanding what you guys are actually choosing. And in that case, how did you approach this year? Because there was a lot of changes, like with the CP changes, with the data slate, with the nerfs happening with around Nephilim. I'm actually curious, how did you guys approach it?
Well, to be completely transparent and fair, this first year we had a very important goal with the French committee, led by LOL, that was to convince the community that this new method was the right one. So we had what I would say representation obligation. So we needed to bring everyone on the table, and we needed to have a little bit of representation from that team, from that team, from that team. It was serving the purpose of the demonstration about the method. And still, we had results on the WTC. So this year, we still have this objective, this goal, but it is going to go a bit in the back in the in it's not the front objective, it's a back objective. So the front objective is going not is more going to be about performance at the end of the year, so in the WTC. Um, and well, your question was, how did you choose your player last year? So that was
Players and armies.
players
That's
and armies. So
yeah.
that was not that was how that was one of the orientation we had to choose the player. The rest was on lead level. How are you able to play, to perform, to deal with the rest of the team, bring your expertise to the other players? Because when you working on matrix or on builds, you need the expertise of your other mates. And if you have one or two mates that are supposed to be expert on these codecs or on these codecs that are not really in this team effort, in team spirit, most of the time you realize you have misunderstandings, especially on this part of the meta. So that's something we are quite um, uh, we are quite uh, oh, uh,
Don't worry, I
It's okay.
cannot speak English as well, so
None of
happens
um,
us
to all
can.
of us.
we pay attention really hard on this part of the method, because we need, in 8v8, if you have one bad matchup or one misunderstanding on one game, this is the game. So you turn your small win to a small lose, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's very important for us. And then the ability to perform and to also to work, so to deliver lots of game and report and during the year to work on the meta.
Okay, and when it came to the last year, you guys chosen 8 armies. Did you guys approach it in a way that, for example, some countries think like, what are the best 8 armies? Some countries think what's gonna be in the meta and how do you counter it? I from what I've listened, I saw like a lot of different approaches, but maybe
Yeah.
you are limited by the players. Like players wanted to play specific armies,
Mm,
etc.
yeah. Actually, we it might be something that you would bring in a small championship like we have in France, like League One or these playoff events that we call the Big Four, because you have few armies and few opponents to face. But in the WTC, you have so many people, so many teams that is very difficult to foresee what is going to be played and try to counter. This year was a bit special because it was quite homogeneous
Homogeneous, yeah.
homogeneous through the teams, but still you cannot, I think you cannot just take the projected meta and try to counter it. So you just have to play your game and your where you're the best, your plan, and adapt for each team you encounter. That's what I think, and it's also what we all thought during the roster builds, the 8 players and 8 list builds. So if you have a close look on our lists, we wanted to have lots of lists, maybe 5 or 6, that are able to always play on the table. So not well, what I mean is you need to be able to bring back points from to your team, whatever the matchup is, and only very few lists that are meant to
Score
bring
high.
very big score or very low score, and that are supposed to get pairing resources on
Hmm.
on the process. Um, that it has two purpose. First, to make sure you have a base score that is not dropping too low, and you can try to get the the draw or the win with your scorers. And second, that is still important, you preserve the pleasure in game, because it's still a game, and you have 8 players that are coming from far away sometimes, and they need to take pleasure on the table. We think they need to, and we also think that if you do not take pleasure, you do not perform. So
Oh, we build teams very differently.
Yeah,
Imagine prioritizing fun. Ugh, couldn't be us.
yeah.
so
Pova had a lot of fun having 36 warriors. A lot of fun.
yeah, I think
But you
the
guys had
worst fun is
40
for the
fucking
opponent.
free.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys had 40 fucking free Tyrannid warriors. So,
Yeah,
even
I'm not
less
judging.
brain.
I'm not judging. You take your pleasure where you think it is.
Okay, let's not king shame people. Right.
Yeah.
Um, so about like your army choices. Now that you said that you are kind of looking for armies that are all comers, like that are stable, because
Hmm.
that's what
That's it.
what I understood. So in that case, did you guys like select those armies by doing some, for example, test pairings, or did you guys go for like play 8v8s within your team, or how did your list come up? Like for example, why did you bring 43 Tyranid warriors? Like those lists come from somewhere.
Yeah. Actually, we have lots of event through the year, so every player is responsible for what is proposing as a list, and we select then the do it list and player. And through the year, for example, for the Tyrannid, we had Poet, that was our French Tyrannid player, and he went and defeated in like 20 nails all the season, with different concepts that's converged to this beautiful list with the 43 Tyranid warriors. So it was pretty natural, pretty canonic to land on this list on the Tyranids for us. But we had we had more trouble to choose, for example, in between Harlequins or Craft Word, or to choose in between Blood Angel or Salamanders, or voilà, that's it. And those choice are more about what are you able to bring in the team once we have the 4 or 5 first very
Armies.
armies, very serious army, or the one that you know what they are going to do in pairings or how they are performing, and then we authorize ourselves to have uh, other joker or armies that are more eccentric and
Hmm.
maybe more difficult also to work or to analyze for the opponent.
Okay, and with your army submitted, how did you guys prepare for the pod phase and like the regular Swiss phase? Because I can assume like what, for example, Josh said, and what Ines, for example, had completely different approach, which makes sense. Is that Josh knew he would probably win their pod with England, so they could anticipate who they will play because they will mostly play other teams that would win in their pods. So they could prepare not only prepare for their pods, but also prepare for all the top teams. Which, for example, Ines, you couldn't really know what you would
Yeah,
play as a
we,
team.
we had no way of knowing whether we were going to go 1 and 2, 2 and 1 in our pod, really, and then we don't know what teams are going to go 1 and 2 in their pods as well. So it's a lot
No.
harder to prepare for that. You
So,
just kind of have to go as it goes.
so Father Beaver, how did you approach it?
So as everybody, we worked on the first three team we had to face the first day, and then uh, it was we wanted to win because we were head of this series. So we prepared as if we were gonna win the series, and we worked on the top teams we could encounter after that. So we had prepared Poland, USA, UK, and Australia, and I can't remember the others. But uh, during the entire WTC, we only faced one team we did not prepared because it was quite hard to anticipate. It was the last team we encountered. It was um,
Netherlands.
Netherlands. Yeah, that's it. It was quite hard because we finished with a draw with Spain, and so that now when you have 5 rounds with one draw or two draws, you are in the middle of the table, and you cannot foresee who you're gonna fight.
So you guys didn't like prioritize only your pot phase. So you like if you were to say which games you put more time into, you because there's a lot of armies to analyze. There's a lot of different approaches. Like you didn't really need to analyze a lot of Sisters of Battle because their lists were kind of the same. But how did you guys approach like finding a specific games, and how did you do it? Like because you need those estimation tables to know which armies you do not know. How did you guys do it?
Actually, this year was quite easier because, as I said, there was quite a lot of archetypes that were pretty much the same. Those sisters, renegade knights, imperial knights, so free blades or the other one, um, tyrannids. That were all only Kraken for some list, or the rest was Leviathan, Blood Angel, pretty much the same. So once you've gathered those those lists or those archetypes you're going to encounter, you prepare for those matchup, and not as a team. We prepared to just know on the individual level, how am I going to perform against this kind of archetype and this kind of archetype, etc., etc. So that was the work we've done, and then you only have to adapt for the small adaptation you may have in the list, or the scenarios you may encounter, because first day has a few funny scenarios that are not the same from for the other days, the two following days. So n- now once you're prepared for those main archetypes, you only have to worry about the funny archetypes you will have for Australia, or in your series, the three first match. And that's what I think is very powerful about funny archetypes, because the other team will not have the time to prepare them as well as they should. So that's for in my opinion, one of the main reason the Genestical cult performed so well in Australia. You do not have the time, just because Australia decided to play Genestical cult, to work Genestical cult. So you, if you face Australia, you'll figure it, and then you do not figure it.
Yeah,
So, and you lose.
yeah, yeah.
Did you take any of those style of lists, or did you go with just very all round lists?
No, we had, I believe, one or two lists that was that way. There was my list that was salamanders, and it's I believe the same flavor as the Genestical, because you do not want to respect salamanders when you face them. So even either you do not have the time to work them, and you do not want to work them because you do not respect them. So
Yeah,
the,
there's also less value in working it unless it's in your pod. Why
yeah,
bother? Because it's only one team has it. You
that's
can
it.
just hope that you get it on the day, or that you can figure it
Yeah,
out in the lunch break. There is a lot of value in that.
or
I think that
your
makes a lot of
coach
sense.
can see the games of that player and give you feedback how it works on the table. So
it might happen, or you can go watch French Wargame, French Wargame Studio, because it was streamed for the singles that I performed in. But still, you need to have time to do that. So
yeah, and when it came to like filling up estimation tables, how good was the team actually in doing that? What I mean is that did you guys fill in estimations for on your pod and like seven other good teams, or did you, and how well did it go? Like from when I spoke to Josh said that they filled for every single team. They've
they
done
failed for every,
estimations
yeah.
every single one team, and that was done within a week from the list submission in their case, which is
No,
insane.
yeah, no, we do not that. Actually, it is an effort over time for us. We accept to have empty matrix, or partially empty, until the very day of the WTC, because yeah, you have real life, and you
People need
need to
something
deal
to
with
do
it.
in the airport.
Yeah, and sometimes you just don't know. You cannot theory craft the matchup. You need to test it. So you have to decide and prioritize, concerning, regarding to your time, your free time, what is going to be tested, because it seems funny, and you might be misleading, thinking you're winning or you're losing, because theorycraft is not good for this one. And what is going to be simply theory crafted, because it's only about statistics, math, and and you can just uh, figure how it's gonna how it's gonna perform, only by those kind of measurements.
Okay,
uh, but still, it is really overtime for us. We do not take time to prepare pairing strategies, because we do not need them. uh, we we believe pairing strategies, but pairing is more about matrix accuracy than uh, pairing tactics or pairing strategy. And so we prefer giving the players more time to be accurate on the matrix than making them fill the matrix in order to work on the pairing.
Okay, that's interesting. I agree fully with the fact that pairings themselves, like, there's no catching someone on something. Like, not during the pairings. It's only done. The mistakes are done on the estimation level, not on the pairing level. That's
Yeah,
what I would say.
maybe except on the switch on the forgotten, but yeah,
The last four pairings are sometimes hot garbage. Like you don't know what will happen. So, but like, it's innately random, and you cannot do much unless we go back to what was previously in fifth and sixth edition and fourth as well.
Oh, with the
When we,
champion?
yeah, when you had the champion,
I
that's
like
like,
that. I think we should bring that back. That'd be fun.
I think it was actually a nice thing. I don't like the randomness. I don't know what's your guys' take on it. I just always felt stressed out doing the last four pairings because I knew that it's not fully in my power what's happening.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of ways to build pairing strategy. Because I don't know. I get what you're saying, Pair. Where there's building like a plan for each specific team isn't necessarily valuable, but having a way that your team approaches pairings, I think, is something that is valuable to have. And there are teams that build for like the front four, teams that build for the back four, teams that build for like the first defender and things like that. So there's a lot of ways you can do that.
yeah, but
We've always been a back four focused team, so we always try to have the first four matchups don't matter. We just want a good back four so that we limit that
Same,
randomness.
same.
And I think that's definitely something that can be interesting and varied from team to team.
actually we take that into account for the builds when we decide the lists. We make sure the there are not too many lists that needs pairing resources to perform, that needs a table, and we also try to make sure that the needs are not the same. So if you have uh, a team that needs empty table, it's not working, obviously, and you will have to look for balance there. And the first four choice for the pairing are purely mathematical. So we have a program that is helping us to optimize this part of the pairing. And at the end for the switch, it's mostly it's mostly a mind game.
Yeah, gut
And
feeling in mind games.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
noticed you say with you saying that. Sorry, Tiffus.
no,
You guys
go
don't
go.
didn't have Tau this year, which definitely leans into that. Don't bring lists that have heavy reliance on like first defender table choice, things like that. But then you do have two knights lists, so that they are two lists that draw on the same. They want the same kind of table. So it's interesting that that's the split you went with.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with the part that you do not need to prepare pairings beforehand. Like that for me, I think there's a lot of things to consider beforehand, and you need to realize, at least that's what I realized when doing some test pairings, that for example, if I didn't drop a certain army as an attacker in first two steps, just so it gets 10-10 into like not a great matchup, like for example sisters, like just to give you an example, it would get fucked in the last four. So I think there are reasons to actually do those sample pairings, to actually identify that there might be weak spots that you do not see under unless you do a pairing or two.
yeah,
And there's another thing that I also think pairings, there's another depth, like layer of depth to the pairings, which is choosing the tables. Like when we paired, we had two first defenders choosing heavy tables, or if opponent didn't have a counter, our second defender would be Tau, which usually would just butt fuck people on an open table. And I think there's some level of that because those two first pairings will choose heavier tables, and then if you have the rest of the team that are more shooty, then you have the more open tables left over. So there's things that I think you should consider, and I do think that spending some time and identifying those small things actually adds up and can win you one pairing, which is a lot. Like if you get one game better because of those considerations, like you've won,
yeah,
you maybe not
yeah.
have lost to Australia, maybe you have drew against them. So
At the same time, I don't think France are saying or Pair is saying that they don't do that kind of pairings prep. It's saying that they don't fill out the matrix for every team until the day of the event. But I'm assuming you guys are doing like your matrix for the pod stage and talking through it and practicing that much more in advance.
Uh, Actually, Typhus and I agree, but we do not say it the same way.
Okay.
You say you need to prepare the first step because the first step might fuck the four last one, and I agree with that. But in my opinion, it's only about a mathematical method to optimize the last one. So as I said, we have help from a program that is considering what is going to happen on the four left, the four last pairings, and uh, help us decide which one is best to put in the first in the early stage. So defense one, defense two.
Okay.
But yeah, obviously, if you throw a card that is important uh, um, to get the respect from your opponent on the defense, so you might want to keep the double click for a defense that is willing to take open table in defense two or defense one, and you still have two that are killing this specific archetype, and this archetype is not performing as well on a heavy table. Of course you want to keep them, of course,
Yeah.
but normally if your matrix is accurate, the mathematical method tells you that or take that into account.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I think
Then
that's a fair follow-up question. How accurate do you guys think your matrix was this year?
It really depends on the opponent.
I think
uh,
that's all super relevant. Did you guys? So you guys are using a mathematical model for your pairings, which means that if you guys are giving it bad information, it's going to give you bad outputs, right? It's
of
really
garbage
easy to
course.
in,
get a good
garbage out.
matrix when your opponent agrees that your opponent thinks your bad matchup's a good one. So how did that perform? How did you guys feel pairings went with regards to the input you gave it and the results
uh,
you got out of it?
uh, the first match we had went quite well. We had, I think, very few mistakes on the pairing, and uh, our opponent and us were did agree apparently regarding to the progression of the score during the pairing. We agreed on the evaluation of the matchups. So that's the first day. Second day, first match was pretty much the same, and then we faced Poland, and we had a very different way to see our matchup apparently because we started the pairing at like 76 and we finished at 104. And when this happens, it means we either the opponent is completely stupid, that is not possible for Poland, or you have a very different way to visualize several matchups. So, uh, for example, at the end of the pairings, I told Lol, that was the captain, that we had a problem because at least three table were concerned by this difference of vision, and I was right because at the end, no, at the end, Poland was right about those three tables. Uh,
Yeah, I think teams win and die on those estimations. I think we had some misestimated games as well, and it by games game we drew and lost, it was just because of this.
Yeah,
And
there's a big degree of it where if you go into a pairings with your plan being based around you having a good matchup and it turns out to be a bad matchup, you've built your entire that's like a it could be up
yeah,
to a 30-40 point swing off of one game, and that's
yeah,
the entire round.
yeah,
So yeah, matrixing is becoming much more important
yeah.
as
and
years go on.
That's
and
why
I
we give lots of time to prepare the matrix. And as you said, of course, if you input bad information into a program, it's gonna get you wrong output. but it's the same for brain. So even if you do not have a program and you only have metrics and you just trying to figure what is the best pairing, you still have a bullshit matter to relax. So uh,
Do you guys, or does your team just follow the program, or was there a degree of,
no,
with Matthew, like he looks at what it's saying and he goes, "I don't think that's right," and then
yep,
you intuit it a little bit as well? I'm sorry, I suppose I'm asking, is the matrix a tool you use on your way to pairings, or is it the pairings?
no, it cannot be the pairings because there are several parameters that are not supposed to be treated by a program. So, for example, the table, the table is not you cannot treat the table in a mathematical or numerical way. So
Actually, let me interfere you there. I think you could. I was actually thinking about it. I was actually thinking about creating an algorithm full of that.
yeah,
And when I've done that, it came to like, if I'm not wrong, I think the number of combinations was around
yeah.
trillions.
Too
Yeah,
many.
that's it. So you
And
can do that, but you have to. It's not about the actually. It's not about the calculation and the matrix. It's about the time your
yeah,
team is supposed to spend to the different metrics. So
Yeah,
yes,
imagine trying to ask your players
it's
to
that
rate
performance.
every opponent by every mission and every table from 1 to
yeah,
8. That doesn't sound feasible.
No,
And
not
you also,
not
I think,
gonna
there's
happen.
also an aspect of player skill and mentality on the day,
yep,
because sometimes like your players just on tilt and you just don't put them into a matchup they should.
you're
Like you
right.
don't put players into a grindy matchup when they're on tilt. You give them a big win, or you just tell them to go get fucked.
Uh,
You don't go for the middle.
Actually, so the program tells us different paths that are equal as a mathematical results, and in between those paths, or even worse path, we choose with those kind of information. So the table, or do we trust this kind of estimation, or we have two equal paths? There is one that is 100% sure because it has been tested, and the other that is not 100% sure because it's only about theory craft. And of course we're going to choose the secure path. So it's only a tool that is supposed to help the decision making, but it's not the final decision.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I wonder how much. I wonder if there'll ever come a point where WTC moves on banning bringing additional programs for pairings matrices. I wonder if that's a conversation we'll eventually have to have.
I I would be surprised if it was.
Yeah, because you
I
have
suppose it depends how good they get, doesn't it?
actually it is still working the matrix matter. So it is still about how your team is ready, how your team knows the meta better than the other one. So it's only about mathematical optimization of your work and your view. So uh, I believe it's completely okay, and you cannot make sure you do not have that kind of tool. Otherwise
Yeah,
you let the phones outside the
No, no, I
venue.
get that. I just
and
think
then
No,
we would
it's an
end
interesting
up.
question of if there would become a point where they became a problem, where it became no longer about the player or the captain and the pairing. I don't know. I don't think it will happen anytime soon, but it's certainly an interesting theory or an
I
interesting
don't
thing
think
to talk about.
we'll ever come close to the chess scandals with vibrating butt plugs and shit. I
Well, there
don't
goes
think.
my plan
yeah,
for pairings
because
this
yeah,
year.
you'd you'd be surprised, Typhus. I had one playing with you.
Well, great, it worked great. You won that game, so
I
to
won.
be fair.
I won.
Um,
Actually, you won because my estimation was much higher. So you won.
I won morally.
Yep.
I was I've learned more French dirty talk during that game.
Well,
So
that is definitely winning.
Yeah,
yeah, on
that's true.
moi daddy.
And that's live. That's live on French Wargame Studio. So
Yes.
congrats.
So there were people on stream hearing me say in French, "Flame me, papa." So when he
Uh,
was shooting with flamers, so uh, Yeah, playing mind games and shit. Yeah, it was a good game, by the way. I
It
really
was.
enjoyed it.
It was
Uh,
definitely.
and now maybe one more question. Uh, what as we are getting more about like the event itself, um, about your team performance, what you guys were unhappy about, and what would you change in what you've done?
That's a good question. I believe we were euphoric. It was we were really happy about the performance because uh, it was a big change in the methods, and we were really not sure about how it would pay at the end of the day. So sixth place is on the same level of winning points as USA and UK. It is good. It is really good, and we like it. What we would change is we need to prepare earlier, and that's why we have the first international fight a week after I'm the nominated captain. We want to work earlier and harder, and we think it is normally going to pay, even if we have the 10th edition. Um, the exercise the mind and the collective on the war game is still going to pay at the end of the day, even if we change the edition.
Yeah, you're not going to suddenly become worse players with less practice because
No.
the edition
No.
changes. You're building
Yep.
fundamentals now, right?
Yep.
Yeah, especially I think TTS is great for that. That's something that I was saying on the previous podcast as well. Is that when you play on TTS, it's not only you playing against opponent, but it's also your teammates watching the game
Yep.
and learning from that game. So,
You're right.
and that's something that you kind of cannot do when you have those IRL, in real life meetings when you meet with your team. Like you cannot have six people standing around the table and analyzing it from bird's eye view. Like that's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
So
you're right. We're gonna play a lot of TTS. So first Poland, then Spain, then we're gonna have to figure if it's gonna be USA or Canada or Greece or even Scotland. Uh, I've been in touch with Dribbling Dave, that is a fellow player of yours in this. Um, and so we definitely gonna spend a lot of time in TTS. I'm I'm still trying to figure if we wanna um, Twitch every game only as a tool, as you say, for the top players to view and review and learn, and also the selectioner to decide if it was only a shit show or a piece of art game.
Aren't they just
Uh,
always shit shows?
that's it. Or if we want to allow the French community also to access those live, because they have been so generous supporting us last year, that I really would like to give back more to this community, so more content or more stay in touch things, and might be a good way to do that.
okay,
And yeah,
so you guys are planning or even like streaming this for the broader community, or only for those who are actually playing that event?
of course it is to be decided with the opponent team. I would like at least to stream for the selectioner team, and I have not decided yet if I'm gonna use it for the community, and I do not want to decide it alone. So I'm gonna wait the week to gather the selectioner committee, and ask this committee what do they think about it.
Because I remember, I think when we played against Germany, they were actually doing live streams of the games, and they were going from a game to game, because we were playing all of them at one day, and they were actually live commentating what's happening. So I was wondering with how much you guys actually put into the
No,
whole
it's not going to be that much.
visibility.
Yeah, we will not. we will not be putting that many energy, or maybe if one of our streamer is willing to put energy in that kind of event, maybe. But for the moment, it's only about, we are using it as a tool.
Hmm.
So we are recording it without overlay or without fancy things. And then maybe those kind of material can be also viewed by the community if they want. It's raw material, so it's not treated. It's not like YouTube material. But if they want to access it, and if the opponent is okay with that, I think it's a good way to give to give back a bit of what is given to us, because uh, I insist, it was really a lot that was given uh, by the community to support us. The entire team traveled free, free housing, free inscription. Uh, eh, it was and it's still we still have a bit of that money to train, and for example travel to Netherlands in Mars, uh, all included, and free for
Wow,
the team.
that's
So it's
insane.
amazing. Yeah,
That's nuts.
France are doing it better than we are, I think, is the general
They are doing
statement
it
on that
better
one.
than everyone. Th- th-
it is
That's
really thanks to Manuel in the French Federation, and to Julian in French Wargame Studio. Really,
No, well,
that's
massive props to all of you guys. Your scene sounds incredible, and I'm happy to see you guys going from strength to strength, and I hope you do even better this year.
I hope to.
yeah. So maybe on more closing notes, if you were to give one advice for future captains,
He's only
here.
been captain for a week, man. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, but you already been at the event, and there might be some people who didn't, and they are coming with a new team. You might have some insights. Like obviously, Josh would have had different insights. Lim would have different insights, but maybe our father Beaver has a different one.
What is unclear for someone that is not used to the WTC is the importance of um friendship and international relation. You might think you're going to a very competitive event that is going to have a lot of rivalry, and it is very competitive, but it's also like a ceremonial event where every nation gather and share something that they have in common, and they have nothing else in common. And if you're not really aware of that, you might miss all the fun first, and you might also mistake or be misleaded in your methods to prepare the event.
Do you
That
have
that
any
that's what I
questions,
think.
Ines?
Is there
You
anywhere, if somebody in France has somehow not heard of you and wants to get in touch, where do they go?
Okay, so where do they go? They go on the Équipe de France, so French team selection Facebook page. So we have a Facebook, we have an Instagram, we have a Twitch that is completely virgin for now, and is going to be filled by the Poland match first, but it's not going to be public for a moment, and without the acceptance of Poland. And then also we are in the French Wargame Café in Paris, and in touch with Julian in the French Wargame Studio, and other YouTubers like Creative Wargame. So they go on those platforms, and they can get in touch, or on Discord, because I'm always answering questions, or answering message on Discord. So it's still Père Castor, and normally you have no trouble finding me.
Perfect. And we'll get links to some of those places put down in the description below for anybody who's listening. So yeah, and if you're in Paris and you're not French, go and check out the Paris War Games Cafe.
Yeah, French
Uh,
Wargame Cafe.
French War Games Cafe
Yeah,
in Paris.
it is amazing. It is big, have nice table. It has fresh beer, nice food. So come on, and a studio, because Julian is from time to time streaming directly from the cafe.
Perfect.
So, on a closing note, would you like to say something to your team?
To my
The
future
one
team.
that, and even the previous one. Like you can do to
Well,
both.
the previous one we had a lot of term of fun about and also about uh, a particular event we called Zone Dub Roger, and I'm not going to say more about that event. And for the next team, let's kick ass, Buckfoot, as you say, and see you in the WTC 2023.
And see you at WTC, Per. We look forward to it. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being with us for another episode of Enter the Matrix. This has been Team France. If you enjoyed what you heard here, drop a comment below. We'll make sure that they all get forwarded on to Per and Typhus so that they can keep an eye on them and hear any great feedback that you guys have. Thank you to both of you guys for being with us this episode. If you're listening to this and you listen to it as part of the regular YouTube release, you can check us out at patreon.com/statcheck, where you can get access to all of these a couple of weeks earlier. We hope you really enjoyed this. This is the kind of content that we make because we love it, not because it does necessarily great on the numbers, but it's great to get captains that don't necessarily get a lot of spotlight outside of their own communities, like France, Germany, who most people in, especially the UK and the USA, where all of our listener base is from, don't get a lot of exposure to you guys. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you for being with us, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you. Cheers.